Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Researchers podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds. My guest tonight, Martha Deckard, is running a little behind schedule. So, figure to get the show started, we can talk a little bit while we wait on my guest. Let's talk about equipment, stuff like that. Hello to the two that are watching so far. If you guys got any questions, feel free to post them in the chat as well, and I'll answer them the best I can. Um, so I thank you all for joining me tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about your K2 meter versus your Mel meter. Um, your K2 meters were founded pretty much by electricians, and a lot of electricians use them to find magnetic fields in the wall, which was brought on the TV show Ghost Hunters. Grant Wilson brought it on, saying, hey, they were made to detect ghosts. Well, K2 meters we had found in the field, they do pick up a lot of electrical energy, circuit breakers. They'll pick up your cell phones, cameras. Um, they're not real definitive in the paranormal field, really. I mean, if you're out in a field somewhere and you got it setting out at a distance and it's going off, then you possibly have something. But where if they're close to your cell phones or anything like that, any battery, they will set the K2 meters off. We use a K2 meter, but very seldom. We'll go around and check the EMF levels in like a house with them. Um, where like your Mel meter is running on a different frequency. It will pick up. We did find out it will pick up an iPhone. It will spike to like an iPhone. If an iPhone's live on Facebook, it's something that an iPhone. I've never have it pick up on an Android phone, just an iPhone. I don't know what iPhones put out as far as that goes, but with the millimeter also, it will pick up a circuit breaker if you're close by, but it doesn't really pick up power outlets too much. So we kind of use the millimeter. Now, like your REM pods, like mine's got a REM pod attached to it. They will pick up a walkie-talkie frequency, and it will set your REM pod off. It will spike your millimeter. Lightning's another indication. Will spike a millimeter, will spike a K2. Any EMF meter will pick up lightning from that static electricity in the air and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them up in the chat if you want to know about some equipment that we use and stuff like that, what we use in the field and anything like that. A lot of times, what I like to do in the field is I'll go sit in a room quiet for a while, get to feel the atmosphere, what's going on, and just listen. I'll run a digital recorder while I'm in there, but that's about it. Other times I'll just sit and listen to what's going on in the atmosphere. And a lot of times you get pretty good results. Like also if you're doing like a normal conversation with your teammates, a lot of times you'll pick up an EVP off of that, just having a general conversation. We've done that several times in the past where we've picked up EVPs off a general conversation. We could be interviewing a client and all of a sudden we'll pick up an EVP off of that. Um, we're also going to talk about our event that we just had this past weekend at the Warrensburg 1839 courthouse. It was a good event, 20 people, and we separated them in the groups. I took 10, Julie took 10, and we did the Estes method, and we were in two separate buildings. They let us actually do the library. Jen and we had taken a group out to the library, and Julie and them started off in the courthouse. Well, the historical society was running back and forth, and they were listening to our Estes methods, and our Estes methods were coinciding with the building next door too. They were both saying the same exact things we were in the library. And so it was a pretty productive night. I mean, it did show we were active when they were doing talking about the history of Marsh, the old judge that had been killed there. We had a tripwire going across the hallway where he is said to walk back and forth. He started setting that tripwire off as they were talking about him. But later that night, when my group got to the courthouse, we were upstairs in the clerk's office. So we were using the Wise Man Spirit Box developed by Supernatural Inc. and decided to try a little different and do the knocking sessions where knock once for yes, twice for no. And we did that and we asked, well, this one of the people that were participating in the event, she was sitting in a chair and the back end of the chair lifted up with her in it. And it happened on cue, so we thought maybe she moved, but she swore she did not move at all, and, it ended up it was a loud bang, and we ended up getting our definitive answer that it was there. It knocked once for yes, and, we were using a reverse sweep ink box developed by, KD Stafford of Supernatural Inc., and, we only got one word on it in the library. It was a female voice, but we couldn't make it out what she said this weekend. I'm actually gonna go over the audio for that because I was also running a recorder at the same time. But yeah, it was a pretty good night. Uh, Julie's crew, they got some pretty good substantial evidence out of there and validation as well. I mean, they did the human pendulum and got some good results. We gave a demonstration of it to the people at the event so they can see what it entails and they've never seen it done before. And we were picking up on some people that are haunting the place. And part of the history of that Warrensburg courthouse was they used to have a hanging tree out front where they would hang murderers. They had a jail out front where they had Frank James actually and some of the James crew in that jail for a little bit. Um, they also have an old school on the property that they had moved there. We're supposed to go back later, probably this year, and do another event for them. Um, so it turned out to be a good night. We can't wait to do it again. Also, if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to throw them up in the chat. So I guess my guest is running a little late tonight. So hopefully she gets on soon. But yeah, I'll keep you guys entertained, talk to you guys about whatever you guys want to know, cleansings, the demonic stuff. So yeah, like I said, feel free to post them in the chat. I see there's about 10 watching now. Thank you guys for tuning in. Um, hey Kimmy, welcome in. Yeah, we're just chit chatting, waiting on my guest. She's running a little late tonight. So if you have any questions, Kimmy, feel free to throw them up in the chat if you want to pick my brain about some of the paranormal stuff and some of our cases. A lot of them I can't dive too deep into them because of confidentiality, but I can talk a little bit about them. So, and then we got some events coming up too for the month of September. Hi, Linda. Welcome in. So we've got the Echo Spirit Con in St. Joe, September 7th. We'll be there. Raven's Eye Paranormal will be there. There'll be several other paranormal teams there. Stephanie O'Reilly from the McIntyre Villa, she will be there. The Mysterious Mike and Sam from Epic VIP Events. They are also doing a haunted object panel. So you can bring in your haunted objects and see if we can connect to them and see what's attached to them, see if we can get names or I am one of the ones that are going to be connecting with the haunted objects. So, and then September, I think it's September 13th and 14th is the steampunk event. Supernatural Link will be there. We're not confirmed yet if we're going to be there or not. And then the last weekend in September, we are going to be at the Warren's Paracon in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So if you're making the trip out there, be sure to catch us walking around, say hello. We're going out to see our family, Tony Sparrow, and the rest of the Nesper, and then our friends that Get Haunted are going to be there as well. So it should be a good time. They're bringing about 70 artifacts from the Warrens Occult Museum. So, hey, Greg, welcome in. How are you doing, bud? So yeah, a little bit more about like the Mel meter and stuff that I was talking about earlier. Those they will pick up electricity, but not as bad as your K2 meters. That's why we kind of use the Mel meters quite a bit in the field. Mine's also got shadow detection in it, so if a shadow passes by, it'll play a little music note. Um, with the REM pod too on it is pretty good. Like at that event that we did when we were getting ready to switch to go over to the courthouse, my REM pod started going crazy. It was like it was following us. It would follow us out the door, but it never did go off in the courthouse at all. But we did get some definitive answers on the ink box and the Wiseman upstairs. The Wiseman spirit box that we were using that KD made, we your body's the actual antenna for the spirit box. It's got two bolts, and then you just take your hands and you kind of grab them. And what they do is your body reacts with that, and they can use your body as the antenna to talk through it. And we were getting cussed at. We heard sound like screams. We got burnt quite a bit on there, like there. And part of the history is that whole block had burnt at one time. So we're thinking it's attached something with the land from where everything had burned at one time. There was a church that burned down and several other buildings. So and they said with Marsh, he likes to stomp between the clerk's office to the other room, and I guess the two of the directors were in the courthouse one night just chit chatting downstairs in the courtroom, and they heard loud footsteps going across the hall. Well, they knew nobody was up there, and they hear a door slam, and then they hear the door open back up. They hear boots go back across the hall, and then stop for a few minutes, and then go back again across the hall. They hear the door slam. Well, the door they couldn't get it back open. Finally, when they got it open, they walked in the room and everything that was on the table was on the floor. So we still going through audio yet for that to see if we connected with Marsh to see if he actually talked to us or it was an inmate. I guess somebody had broke in there and shot him. And without further ado, here's my guest for the night, Martha Decker. Please welcome her to the stage. She's a author, paranormal investigator. She's also the PR manager for the Haunted Hill House in Texas. So, without further ado, let's bring her on. Hey, Martha, welcome to the show. Can you hear me?
Hey, I came up. Yeah, I can hear you. The AT&T is only working so, but I can hear you, and I'm in my camper that hopefully it won't get too dark. I come out and I guess the fuse is blown inside the house for it because there's no electricity in here.
So,
So,
tell my audience a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the paranormal.
well, I got started in the paranormal when I was really young. First experience, I was about 4.5, and then, all through my years, occasionally, I'd have something every couple of years or every year or so, several different things. So that's how I got started in it. I became interested, and so back in the when I was growing up, there wasn't anybody to talk to about any of this. I had a friend in high school, and we were both interested, but all I could do was read. I would read Hans Holzer books. I'd read the Warrens books. I would read everything I could on Edgar Casey, and that was about it. As far as some kind of, it gave me a guide to go by,
Mm,
until things changed, where when internet happened and everything.
right.
But so, but really, I've been investigating about 30 years, 35 years now. Um, you know, Once I got out and got, on my own, I started investigating.
And you're a retired police officer, aren't you?
So, yeah, I retired a detective from the police department. I was a detective and the assistant chief of police. Had been a SWAT officer. I'm still a law enforcement instructor. I can still go do some trainings for people. And I was a volunteer firefighter. I was lead on our scuba rescue team. So I've done some firefighting, volunteer firefighting. Was a journalist for a while, and just I do all kinds of weird things too.
Ah, thank you for your service, though, being a police officer and a firefighter. First
Like,
responders get thank yous enough,
yeah.
and we thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And I was a firefighter volunteer quite a while ago, but I went by the
Sorry, guys, she's having some technical difficulties with the internet.
well, try this again.
I can hear you, so it seems to be going okay now.
Try this again. I don't know what's up with AT&T today, but it's been kind of rough. And we're out in the country, so internet from about 7 to 10 is through our internet company is almost non-existent most of the time.
I hear you. I'm actually from New York, and I lived
So
out.
I don't even try to use my computer. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
know how that is. I used to have satellite internet. Sorry, guys. She's having real technical difficulties living in the country out there. Welcome back. Yeah,
I don't know
it's
what's going on. It should be staying on better than this. It
that's
should be. Well, you're getting the dog barking outside, that's for sure.
all
Yeah,
right. I hear. So you're also the PR manager for the
don't know
haunted.
what they're barking at. So,
So you're the PR manager for the Haunted Hill House down there in Texas.
and yeah, I can barely hear you.
So you're the PR manager for the Haunted Hill House. Sorry, guys. If you guys got any questions for me, feel free to post them up while she tries to reconnect. I know how it is. I'm from New York, from the country part, and we had satellite internet. Before that, it was just dial up. You couldn't get good internet service, so I know what she's going through with that. So let's talk a little bit about some more equipment like your spirit boxes and stuff. The SB7 spirit box, the SB11 that sweeps the radio. We have a hard time with those because it's hard to tell because there's so many radio stations in the United States. I like to sweep mine in like AM because you hardly get any radio static. That's why I like KD's boxes with the shortwave where we it blocks out all that radio. You're just getting standard white noise, and then the reverse speech is a better definitive one to go to as far as that because everything's in reverse. So if you're picking something up in a straight sentence, then you're communicating with something. Um, Also another piece of equipment that I like to use. Here's our guest again. Let's see if we can bring her back on.
And I can hear you now. I decided to opt for outside
Okay.
and see if AT&T would work better. And it sounds like it.
Yeah, you sound a lot better. You're not as choppy.
Yeah, where I was at, it usually works really well, but evidently not tonight.
So
So, and
you're the
in fact, I
project
can
man.
hear you now too.
Awesome. So you're the project manager for the Haunted Hill House down there in Texas?
The public relations.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, not project manager, but public relations, the media person for Haunted Hill House. Yeah,
I see a lot of videos on
and
Facebook for that place.
well, they do all their videos, but I do a lot of this, and that's where because of my journalist background,
Mhm.
and I used to do TV productions years ago. So I pretty much handle most of this stuff. Like they're actually on vacation right now, and there's somebody that's there because there's some people that are staying while they're gone, but somebody over in that area is meeting with the people and taking care of everything for them while they actually took a break because
Mhm.
they'll be up there. They don't live there, but they're there. Usually this time of year, they're there like all the time, night after night, because they have a camper that they stay in when there's somebody there, unless it's someone that's been there several times, then they just have access to a key and they can let themselves in. And
Right.
because they don't need to be there, but they stay there because so many people leave in the middle of the night. It's really kind of funny how many people leave, how many guys leave that can't make it through the night. I
Yeah.
was up there one night they had some people in the house that had rented the house for the night, paranormal team, and I was there, so I was in the camper with the owners, with Sonny and Kathy. And Sonny went to get the donuts in the morning because, somebody books it. There's fancy donuts in the morning besides the snacks and stuff, during the night. And he came back laughing. He said that everybody was sleeping on the front porch. Nobody was in the house. They thought it was safer to sleep out on the front porch, which is, people have spent the night in the kitchen, which is more or less the command center. That's where you can view all the cameras.
Mhm.
And people think that's safe and they'll sleep in there. Although sometimes they'll go in there and sleep under the kitchen table. But that place isn't, safe either. There's been things thrown, you know, thrown around, tossed at people. Somebody's iPad was on the table and went flying across the room. Um, that happened to Natalie Jones, who has Paraflix,
Okay.
because Natalie will do things at the house. And everybody was upstairs that night, and they heard something downstairs, and her iPad had been on the kitchen table, but it was across the kitchen on the floor. And everybody in the house was upstairs. There was nobody downstairs.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see they post a lot of videos of people running out of there on their security cameras.
They do. They do. And, they have only a couple of cameras have actual audio, because those are the security cameras.
Mhm.
And the rest of them have no, or have audio, audio. And the rest have no audio. They're just video. Oh, now
Mhm.
the bugs are getting me. So, but uh, they have video by the doors, by the front door, by the back door, outside and inside, in case somebody were to break in.
Mhm.
And they pick up stuff on those cameras when nobody's in the house at all. So you get notified and look at the camera, and look at the feed, and he captures EVPs when nobody's in the house.
Right.
There was one crazy night. Well, actually, I spent, when I was working on the book about Haunted Hill House, I was there 3 days on my own. I wanted to go and pretty much not do any investigating, just be there as if I was living there, to
Right.
see what kind of response I could get. And the first day and the first night, it was really calm and quiet, just the residual stuff. There were things going on, but it was residual. And the second night, the day had been fairly calm. There'd been activity, but it was, residual again. And so I go about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and I shut off the computer, turn off the TV, because I was watching TV. And I was about half asleep. And when I did all that, I heard from upstairs the loudest, you could call it a combo of hiss, roar, growl, everything combined into one at the
Mhm.
same time. And I ran over to the door because the curtain was partway down, and all I did is the adrenaline, that got my adrenaline going most definitely. But I look up there and I yell up there. I go, Toby, I heard you. Well, what do you want? Why are you trying to do that? And so I had talked through text to Kathy not that long before then. So I'm gonna go sit down outside on the front porch for just a little while, let the adrenaline settle, and then come back in. And But while I was talking to Kathy, while I was still trying to get all the locks undone to get out on the front porch, he had, I had triggered the security camera when I went past it to the door, and he had picked up an EVP that said, "Look, Toby made her get turn red. He'll get her later." So that kind of worried them. And so Ryan and Julie's his mother, Um, and Ryan, he goes by Ryan, and he's over there if they want somebody wants an investigator there. And but they both came over and stayed for a little while. And Ryan was all disappointed because I wouldn't let him investigate because I wanted to keep the ambiance and everything in there as it was, and not change it. But he's been pretty quiet with me since then, although there's been other interactions. But it's really interesting when you're in the house and you're all by yourself and you're the only one there, and you can hear Toby, because Toby always sounds the same. He has pretty much more of a mechanical kind of sound.
Yep.
And, he doesn't talk to people that much, other than he may say, get out. And that's about it word wise. Otherwise, it's just a hiss or a growl or something like that. But it's always the same sound. I was being interviewed by Nick Groff over there because he went and he did an episode on his Nightwalker series on the first season. Then he was going to come back and do another. None of the interviews made it in the first. They're supposed to be in the second one, and he hasn't done that. Hasn't come back to do that yet. But while we were doing that and starting to wrap up, we were in the living room and had the doors to the scratch room open and to the passageway, and now into now where they have the other, they call it a scrying room, but it was a porch on the side of the house that
Mhm.
they opened back up. And Toby was really vocal in the scratcher room. He was hissing, uh, but it was really loud. He did it first, and they heard, Nick and his cousin heard it, but it wasn't that loud. But the second time, as we were wrapping things up, he was really loud. And Nick's eyes got like saucers, and he looks at his cousin, and I just go, meet Toby, or that's Toby. In other words, for me and some other people, it's not a big deal because we're so used to being, exposed to that.
Right.
But the easiest way to describe how his sounds, he sounds a lot like a room deodorizer, one of those automatic commercial ones. A lot of times it comes across on the recording, and that's what it sounds like. It's really kind of funny to say, well, he sounds like a room deodorizer spray. But I wouldn't, and I was there was something going on with a group of people, and I was there, and I didn't feel good that night, so I went to just lay down for a while. And so I'm in the Axe room, and I'm close to the bathroom that used to have access into the passage room. But Toby used to only stay upstairs,
Mhm.
but they hear him in the scratch room quite a bit. So I don't know. I heard hissing probably half a dozen or more times that evening. I heard a bunch of get outs, and I just, he does things, and I just act like I'm asleep. It doesn't really faze me. I don't react to it. But the one time when it was really loud with the get out, a group of people had gone into the scratch room to talk to Willie in there. And that one was loud enough that they heard it in that room, even through their talking. And I heard it too.
Yep.
And, it just, and things come and go from the house. Something might be there, one day or a couple days or months, and then it's gone. Then you have the stuff that can come and go, but, will stay at the house, but nothing is like tied directly to the house, like you can't leave the house.
Right.
If something wants to go, it can go. And so many people have been through that house. Sometimes they bring their own tag-alongs with them,
Yep.
and sometimes those stay at the house. So you
What
never know what you're going to get. There's just always some kind of activity in that house.
what is the little bit of the history on that house?
Well, the house was built 1870s or so, somewhere around in there. They don't have an exact date. Um, but the historian, Donna McCauley, in her research, found that the house was built earlier than initially thought.
Mhm.
When she was digging, she's a historian for the city of Weatherford and for Parker County. And I believe she's on the historical commission for the county. I used to be the county I live in. I used to be a commissioner with our historical commission, and those are appointed by the county commissioners on those seats with that group. And so she was able to find some more paper just because she knows how to look for stuff. Because at
Right.
first I thought the house was built 1880 or not, between 1880, 1890, somewhere in there, but she was able to pull out paperwork showing that it was earlier than that because the city records on a lot of stuff was destroyed years ago. There was a fire in like downtown Mineral Wells. I'm not exactly sure where, but a lot like the records were, lost at City Hall and, all that stuff. There was a pretty good sized fire at one time. So, and if you want to look up stuff in a newspaper, you need to go look at the county newspaper, or go into the Fort Worth newspapers back then to
Mm.
find information, because anything from the paper in town would have been lost too in the fire.
Right. I think
Plus,
that's quite
little small, huh? What?
quite
What?
frequently because Missouri's got the same thing where everything gets lost in a fire back in the 1800s.
Yeah. Now, if you go up to Jefferson, Texas, they lost everything from a flood that came through there. But firefighting in the 1800s wasn't like it is today.
Yep.
And so when something catches fire, because of the way the structures were built back then, you lose quite a bit. And so today, still though, if there's something in an older town in if they have a downtown area, the same thing can happen just because it's the original buildings.
Right.
Um, I was up in Oklahoma a couple weeks ago speaking at a conference, and we had the conference in Sulphur, Oklahoma. I think a couple years ago she had it there, and we couldn't have it there because recently, I think it was this year, a tornado went through Sulphur and wiped out their downtown historic district. It's all gone,
Right.
which was sad because that was a neat little town.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit even in Missouri too, where we get those
Yeah,
tornadoes come through, like Joplin, Missouri got hit pretty
yeah,
bad.
exactly. Yeah, we had one out here by me even, and I'm over in southeast Texas, so I'm like 135 miles from Haunted Hill House.
Mhm.
So, and I have to go through the Dallas and Fort Worth traffic to get there. There a lot of the places around here. I just say there are no shortcuts anywhere
Right.
in Texas. Yeah, just no shortcuts. Everything's all filled up with cars.
Right.
Even out by our house, where it was usually pretty easy going and bumper to bumper traffic because people commuted into Dallas, and we're 60 miles southeast of Dallas, and that's just the outskirts of Dallas. And but everybody knew how to drive bumper to bumper at 75 miles an hour,
Right.
so it was pretty good, and there were rarely any wrecks. But Dallas people are moving further and further out towards us, so now there's more and more wrecks, and there's traffic starts not that far from the house, and it stinks. It's time to move out further.
Yeah.
But
Do they think there's something malicious at that haunted Hill House?
yeah, yeah, have you have like the children there, and you have the people with natural deaths that kind of show up here and there. The Jaegers, Kyles, and you get that. But you have Toby, and Toby is negative, and what is Toby? We don't really know what Toby is, and you can't go by what Toby says he is.
Right.
Toby, although we're pretty sure Toby was never human, and Toby is the name. So the people that so when they bought the house from Phil Kirchhoff, he had initially bought it as a to do a B and B there, and he
Mhm.
wasn't really into anything paranormal. He's an archaeologist, and he even built a park in Mineola, it's an archaeological dig site for people. But he encountered the paranormal stuff. Uh, Bugs out here, yay! Uh, encountered stuff. There's some stuff outside, just like there is inside. But the family that lived there for about 20 years, talking to their friends who had been there, talking to the people who did live there, all the stories are fairly consistent, or with people who are adults now that were babysat in that house when they were younger by that family. You know, talk about Toby and the one family that was there the longest. The story is that the oldest daughter, she would have been, teenager, high school type thing, and her friends used to use Ouija boards upstairs, and that they somehow called Toby, and they named the entity Toby. They didn't ask. That's just what they called him. So everything has stayed the same. The names of the rooms are all the same, from when they bought the house. And because they were told a story when they bought the house that in Toby's room there was a demon that was like chained to either side of the door. And of course they figured out, well, that's not true. Um, and there are other things that were in the history that was given to Phil that some other investigators had done that was not quite right. It was partially right, and we've been able to go through. And Donna's done a lot, Kathy's done a lot, and we have found much more documentation. We have, she's got copies of death certificates. We have, census rolls. We know where people are buried. We've been to their gravesides. So, it's documentation for a lot of the stuff that's found, that type of stuff, as far as the house and when the house was built. When the house was built, it was actually a small, we think, A-frame, and they do have at least two wells on their property, and they were some of the very first wells in Mineral Wells. And then as the house expanded and expanded, and expanded, eventually we have figured out that the scratch room is actually built over one of the wells.
Okay.
And if you dig down in the fireplace, which has been done, it's not like almost, I'd say 5 foot down, and it's just sand. So we think that that well was filled in at one time, and the house was built over it. And the one outside that would be in the backyard has the official like manhole cover type way they seal the wells, like
Mhm.
that. And so they have wells over there. They have limestone over there. They have a lot of stuff. The wells, they have got the water that goes through, underneath. So there's a lot of things in that house that can help as far as the energy for what's going on in that house.
Yep. They
You
got
know,
like a hotbed with that all the minerals and everything.
right, right. And know, I've been bitten there, scratched there, and at one point I actually had missing time that, as far as me, I never had any missing time. It was the other people that instead of going to check on me, they all sat in the kitchen and watched me for 45 minutes.
Right.
It's like, thanks a lot, Somebody should have come and shook me, and Kathy actually said she walked into the room and to say, hey, because there, was an event going on. We're all going in the kitchen for cake or whatever it was. And I was just sitting on the edge of the bed with my phone in my hand, but I wasn't moving. And I don't even look at my phone when the events are going on, at all. So that was unusual. But they just left me in there. I was their guinea pig. See what was going to happen. It's like, don't do that. If it was somebody else, you would have gone in there and pulled them out. But for me, it was no missing time. If enough people I trusted didn't say that it happened, I probably would have never believed them.
Right.
But there were enough, and they all of them said, there's probably 15 people in there watching, and they all said the same thing. So, and I don't know, did you see the video from several months ago where someone kind of ended up running down the stairs and going over the railing?
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Yeah, they had posted that to their Facebook
Yeah,
page.
yeah, they did. I did. That was Maria Elena Santos Kemp, and she's she's friends of ours, but she's also the medium for the house,
Mhm.
and she usually doesn't get messed with. But everybody was upstairs. Everybody was upstairs. Well, Kathy was in the camper because she doesn't go upstairs. I think, and Sonny was outside or smoking or something, but it sounded. We just thought she fell to her death. It sounded horrible with her going down the stairs, and we just
Mm,
thought we were going to find her just laid out at the base of the steps. But she was off to the side. And so as we went and reviewed what happened on the TV and with the big screen,
yep,
you actually see there's a part where the stairs go down and uh they turn, and it's the stairs are a little bit smaller in the turn. It's not like a regular landing, but you see her right before she gets to that area, and she stops and kind of leans against the wall a little bit and then starts to go down. But when we like zoomed into that area, you can actually see a clear hand, but you see a hand like pushing her back. And right after you see that movement like that, she starts doing the like running down the stairs. She never missed a step, but she was going faster and faster, and she would have had trouble if she'd gone straight down. But then
right.
we saw a spark. We actually saw a spark that we think could have been her mother. That you see it go under her, and that's when she is lifted up over the railing and down. And she said it never hurt. She said she didn't fall. It's like she was just placed down there. But she did take out the whole newel post from the railing and from the floor with her
Mhm.
hand as she's going over. And she ended up having to have surgery on her hand. But the next time she was there, she's up and down those stairs again. So, but she's holding on better to this, like like I do and some others. We always hold on tight to that railing just in case something like that happens.
I know, Ernie
So
Martinez from Misfit Apparitions said they investigated the house and they saw green eyes in the attic crawl space off of Toby's room. They heard Toby's
yeah,
hiss twice from his
yeah.
room and the
Well,
bootleg
and
room.
that's yeah. You got between the Toby's room and bootleg room. There's a photo that a lady took. I don't know, 2019, 2020, somewhere around in there. 2019, 2018. That and why she turned around, I don't know. She's Stacy was Wixeka, I believe. Don't think I'm saying her last name right, but she took a photo with her GoPro. She just something she told her, and she just turned around and snapped a picture. And that's really the only picture of Toby, is that one. I know I was talking about the house at a conference several years ago, and I was doing a presentation on Hill House, and they were doing it in a haunted theater, so it was actually up on the movie screen.
Yep.
And let me That was a real good view of Toby on that movie screen.
I bet.
It was really, really freaky, and the guy doing my presentation was able to just enlarge Toby and bring him up and keep everything in focus where you could see. And I mean, because, oh, I'm not going to that house. And the others are like, when can I sign up? You had one or the other because it was pretty scary, and I guess because I've done this stuff and investigated and seen things off and on my life and being a cop and all the things I, encountered that way, it's just I kind of look at it a lot different than other people do. A lot of it just doesn't scare me. If you were to
Right.
ask me where was the scariest place, I haven't been to one yet that wasn't at somebody's living at their house when I would have a call or something, you know, a couple times. It's like being a cop in a rural area. My backup could be 5 minutes away or it could be 20 minutes away. So
Right.
back when I was doing patrol, you just really have to learn how to, take care of it yourself in case you don't have backup. Uh, and there were a few times I waited for backup. Usually it would be for an alarm or something, and I would pull up and you get the hair on the back of your neck standing up. And those are about the only times I really waited, and those were just a few times. And when I usually did the 4 to midnight, the Tuesday through Saturday shift with the police department when I was doing patrol, and they had me on that one because that was the most active and really the most dangerous shift over there. So, I like that. But sometimes something just tells you, to wait. And some of that could have been the fact that I'm an empath,
Mhm.
possibly. Ooh, I see I'm starting to go dark.
Yep.
You can
Well,
still see a little bit.
yeah, we can still see you. So
So,
the book that you had wrote is all about the haunted Hill House.
right.
Where can
So
people pick that up that if they wanna read on that house?
they can, it's on Amazon and it's part of a series. And so that one kind of has a basic overview of the history. It has some of the paperwork that we found, pictures of some of the headstones and some of the death certificates. It has things like it has people's experiences in it from when they had gone to the house. So it has a little variety of everything. It has my interview condensed in there when I spoke to the one girl that grew up there. I talked to her off and on, but when we got serious, I did a 2-hour interview with her. And every time I've talked to her before that, and then since then, her story just stays dead on consistent the whole time. And she had some crazy experiences there. Then her boyfriend, at one point, her boyfriend Dalton, or no, Colson is his name, because he said she didn't want her name used. So,
Right.
and then during the interview, that's right, I had it all transcribed. So, everything that she says in there is exactly how she said it. It's just a straight transcribed interview with stuff on there. But her boyfriend at the time moved in with her, and her baby was maybe not quite 6 months old, and he only stayed about 2 weeks.
Mhm.
He said the activity when they lived there was just so he just couldn't deal with it. And she left because she claims that her baby had been in her crib and was crying, and the baby ended up upstairs in the
Oh, wow.
hallway up there, and you couldn't even like really crawl up there. Plus, the baby had been in the crib, and she moved out soon after that. And then her mother moved out not long after that because her mother claims that she woke up inside the walls
Oh,
and
wow.
found a way out. And then actually, the bank foreclosed on the house because they all moved out and foreclosed on the house. And I think Phil was the first person to get the house once it was foreclosed.
Mhm.
And he had one experience that was so bad he thought he was going to die, and from that point on, he never went on the property again because he used to stay in a camper there. And he said one night something was hitting the side of the camper so hard it was actually lifting up, and he thought it was going to totally fall over on its side. It was such a strong force, and that was it. He never did set foot on that property after that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So sorry I'm getting so dark.
That's alright. We're not gonna keep you very long 'cause we're not gonna be able to see you here soon.
I know. I know.
So
And now that I know that the camper is dead, I will have to go flip a switch. But and hopefully that'll work.
so if anybody wants to get a hold of you and get in contact with you for, interviews, podcasts, or guest speaking, how can they get a hold of you?
They can go to Martha Hazard Decker on Facebook. They can go to East Texas Paranormal on Facebook. They can go to my website. Well, if you go to Mardeck, MARDECK.com, that has all of my different links for different websites. You can get to them from there. You know, I've got one that's EastTexasParanormal.com, but you can get to it from Mardeck pretty easy. And they can go to Amazon, and the book's available some other locations too. Well, yeah, like I said, they can contact me direct for whatever. I'm through with my conference speaking until October, and then I will be in Springfield, Missouri for the UNX Con.
Okay,
And that's UNX. Yeah, I'll be at that. I will be in Little Rock at the at that one downtown Little Rock. I'll be up in Jefferson, and then I will be somewhere else. I can't remember right now, but so far, nothing starts till the first part of October. I've got a few months to take a break, and I will have. Hopefully, I'll have a book, Paranormal Profiling. It's on Amazon, but don't buy it because the publisher's out of business. But they still have everything up as ebooks, and they're stealing the money from the authors. I'm doing an advanced version of that book, and that'll be available by the fall. It'll be paranormal, probably paranormal 2, and it'll say advanced and revised and all that. And that's about how to interview people, look for signs of deception. And you learn about, how to talk to people with mental issues, how to interview children correctly so that you get the answers that you need, all that sort of stuff. In other words, learn to interview like a detective, like a forensic interview.
oh, awesome.
So, yeah.
And I thank you for joining me tonight. We'll have you on again when you got a better connection.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll probably be in a couple of days, but yeah. Yeah, it's you can see part of me.
Yep, just an outline now.
Yeah, just that little outline from our security on the other side of the camper. So,
So I
but
thank you
yeah,
for coming on tonight and talking with us about the Haunted Hill House, and we'll definitely have you on again. I want to try to get the owners of the Haunted Hill House on too as well.
yeah, and it's just really hard for them to do them, which is why I do it because this is while they're doing their history tour, and they have people almost 7 nights a week. I think
Right.
last year during the summer they would go like 6 weeks, 2 months without even a night at home. There's somebody every single day there. So it's really hard for them to do that, which is why I'm the public, you know, media relations person. So, and then there's another book about the house too by Teal Gray that they can look for, and it's also on Amazon. And mine's like Haunted Hill House Where Spirits Speak, and hers is just I think Haunted Hill House. But they're like totally two different versions. she goes more into angels and different things like that, and I just go into the what's in the house and everything.
Right.
So so they can do that. I thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome, and we'll definitely get you back on again soon here.
Yeah. Yeah, you
So
never know. Sometimes you just have problems.
yeah, it happens. I mean, we even get problems. Even we got fiber optic, and we have problems with those as well too, once in a
Oh,
while.
yeah, and of course, there was a major problem today with a lot of websites, a lot of businesses, and stuff with cloud stuff. So I was getting all kinds of emails about this isn't working today. I think it was Cloud Strike or something like that. That their stuff wasn't working right
Right.
today. So hopefully they got that fixed today.
So
And just yeah, I'll let you know if I try to remember. Well, I'll be posting on my Facebook when I have the new books out, and they'll be out in the next few months.
okay, perfect. Yeah, and
Okay.
I'll share them. I'll share them through my page and stuff like that too.
Okay. Okay. And I am doing a cookbook for the fall, a Haunted Hill House cookbook where people, if anybody's been to Hill House, and if they want to give me a story about, small, several paragraphs or so about their experience there and include a photo and a recipe, that's what I'm putting in the cookbook. There are personal experiences by people. And that one, they just can send an email with info or ask about it at author HHH at gmail.com.
Okay.
So author HHH. Yeah. Okay.
All right. I thank you for coming on tonight, and I will let you go because we can barely see you now. So
Yeah, I know. So sorry about that.
that's all right. So
And
thank you again for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
okay, well, I appreciate you having me and thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I'll be better prepared next time. Hopefully this won't happen.
That's all right.
Yeah, I've only had 2 or 3 times through the years where everything's been kind of messed up, and that's about it. So lucky you.
Yeah.
But we will talk later, and I thank you for your time and having me on and giving you some of the insight about Haunted Hill House in Mineral Wells, Texas.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you for filling this in, and we'll definitely talk again soon.
So thank you.
You're welcome. So that was a pretty good guess, guys. I put the link in the chat if you guys want to come on and talk paranormal. We're going for 2 hours, so we got another hour left. So anybody that's in the chat right now, just hit that link and it'll put you backstage, and I'll bring you on if you want to talk paranormal or chit chat. Feel free to click on that StreamYard link. I see there's about 6 still watching, so thank you guys for hanging in there with us with all of the technical difficulties with our guests. Um, so if you have any questions or you want to come on the show and chit chat, like I said, feel free to click that link. We'll give it a few more minutes and then I'll probably just wrap up for the night. But yeah, like I said, we've also got some events coming up to keep an eye out for with us at the Paracons. And then October, I know we're at the haunted house at the movie theater this year again. They asked us to come back. So I'll let you know dates when those are posted, and you can come down and get scared at Marshall Cinema. So if nobody else wants to come on, chit chat, we're gonna wrap up for the night. I thank you all for joining me. Tune in next week. My guest is the Ghost Sisters. So same time, same channel. I thank you all again for joining me tonight. Sorry the show was a little laggy with the internet connections, but we made it through. So I will see you all again next week.